Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to this digital open day talk for English at Leicester. So my name is Daniel King and I am the admissions tutor for English here at Leicester. And what I want to talk to you about over the next probably half hour is essentially make a case for why you should study English at Leicester, highlight some of the good things about the course and outline to you how you'll be taught, what options you will have, and what kind of things you can expect while studying English at Leicester. So my email address is on the board there, artsadmissions@le.ac.uk. Please feel free to email me with any questions that you might have once we're done here today, particularly if you don't get round to asking your question during the 15 minutes or so of Q&A that we'll have at the end. Okay, so first of all, I suppose, why Leicester? Why Leicester, the place? Well, first of all, we are a very highly ranked university. We are top 25 university in the world, according to the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. We have a top 20 students union. We did extremely well in the last round of the Research Excellence Framework. We have very good outcomes for our students. So 94% of our English graduates are in employment a year out from attending Leicester to take an English degree. We're also quite a sustainable university. In fact, we're the 21st most sustainable university in the world. A lot of the campus runs off sustainable solar and wind power. And as well, for those of you worrying about kind of budgeting during your studies, Leicester is known to be quite an affordable as well as quite a nice city. So we are the third most affordable city in the UK, according to the NatWest Student Living Index. So that measures things like what your rent would be, how much a night out costs, how much food, groceries, getting around the city costs. And so we come out as really a very affordable and pleasant place to study, alongside being a very good and reputable university. So now I suppose for the real reason why you're here. So I've talked a little bit about Leicester as a place and the institution of the University of Leicester. Now I'll just give you a brief rundown of what you'll study at Leicester, how you'll be taught, and what you can expect from an English degree. So first of all, I suppose, why study at Leicester? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the English team, what you will study. I'll then go into a bit of detail about what you'll do in your first year, how you will study, where the studying at Leicester, English at Leicester can take you, and then I'll do some stuff on how you can apply and the student life at Leicester toward the end. So the English team. So the English team at Leicester is a big department. We have over 20 full-time research active academics with multiple specialisms over the department. So what that means is that you'll be taught by people who are genuine experts in what they're teaching you, people who are developing and pushing forward the boundaries of the academic fields in which you are studying, and you're joining a sort of vibrant and quite active community of staff and students, all of whom are kind of engaged in the study of literature. And as I said earlier on in the talk, we did extremely well in the most recent Research Excellence Framework exercise in 2021. So this is an exercise done externally that measures at an academic institution. And that exercise ranked 97% of the work done by our academics in the English department as either world leading or international, which made us 11th in the UK out of 92 English departments. So we are a genuinely world leading department, and you will be taught by people who are genuine and world leading experts in their fields. So, for example, we do make the news. So Dr. Claire Wood, who has recently also been awarded the Times Educational Supplements Research Project of the Year Award for her work on Dickens. So what Dr. Wood did was Charles Dickens' famous novelist left behind diaries, which were written in this kind of encoded handwriting that nobody could read. And what Dr. Wood has done over the last few years is crack that code, meaning that we have access to a whole bunch of new writing by Charles Dickens. And this is something that made the news back in 2022 and has received international recognition for its excellence in terms of what it does for the field and how it enriches our understanding of Dickens and his work. We also run lots of events, and in particular Literary Leicester, which, due to kind of recent developments in infectious disease, shall we say, hasn't run the last couple of years, has returned triumphantly in March 2022. This is a free literary event where we invite literary speakers from all across the world, many people you will have heard of. We have people like Marlon James, who wrote The History of Seven Killings, Lemon Sissay, Howard Jacobson, Monique Roffey, Michael Morpurgo and Will Self, loads and loads of genuine, practicing and world-famous, world-leading writers who come to the university and talk about their work, how they write, their methods. And these are free events and readings that you can go to and that you can participate in organising. You will mix with genuine world-leading experts in the field. So what characterises the English degree at Leicester then is coverage. We have a wide range of staff covering a wide variety of fields. You will be supported in your study through a range of measures that I'm going to get to in just a minute, and you will be given as much choice as possible to find, develop and follow your interests within the field of English studies. So first of all then, choice. There is a range of modules that you can take at Leicester, and this variety and range of topics was appreciated and commented upon in the most recent National Student Survey by genuine graduate students of Leicester. One of the most common refrains in that feedback, alongside how supportive our staff were, was what variety of modules and options we offered to our students taking our English degrees. And I say English degrees, plural, very deliberately there, because you essentially have four main options when studying English at the University of Leicester. You can take a straight BA English degree, which will take 3 years if you do it sort of in a conventional way, or 4 years if you participate in our study abroad programme. You can also take BA English and History, or BA English and American Studies. You can combine your English studies with film or a language, and you can also do your BA English with creative writing. So there are many different BA degrees or joint honours degrees that you can take alongside your English degree. So to get to sort of more details, I suppose, if you'll pardon this rather awful visual pun, what your first year will do, so what you'll do from September, next year, if you come to study at Leicester, is your first year will develop the fundamental skills you need to study English at degree level. Or in other words, it will lay the foundations for your next 3 or 4 years at the university. So one of the modules you will take, one of your compulsory modules in your first year, is my module, Writing Matters, which is a module focused on academic and other creative writing. In this module, what we do is we take you through a manual on how to write essays, letters, blog posts, write persuasively, write convincingly, write critically, and write academically, with the aim of teaching you those skills in essay writing and general writing that you need to be a confident, well-informed researcher, analyst, and above all, writer. We're essentially equipping you with the skills in written English that you'll need to succeed in your degree. In this module, you will be taught via lectures, so conventional, basically what I'm doing now, but probably in person, which deal with a particular facet of writing. Alongside that, you will have seminars, which are more like conventional classrooms that you might have had at A-level or GCSE level before. So there'll be probably around 10 to 12 of you in a room with me or one of my colleagues. And here we run discussions and you can ask questions of me, of each other. You come having done the reading, and we discuss and ask questions of each other to help us understand what we're doing and the practice that we've done in the week. The third form of teaching you will do on this module is what we call autonomous learning groups. So within your group of, say, 12, I will put you into, say, 3 groups of 4. I think that adds up. And you will be allocated to those groups of 4. And in between your lectures and seminars, you will meet up however you want to do it without me present, without a lecturer present. And you will ask each other questions and discuss in a guided way. I'll provide you questions to discuss the readings and writings that you've been doing in the week. So that's your chance to have a moan, if you like, about what I've set you, or to discuss points of mutual confusion. Because what we've discovered is it's very likely that if you go and you say, oh, I didn't understand chapter 2, it's very likely that someone else will have understood chapter 2, but might not have understood chapter 3, a chapter that you may well have understood. And so we find that by doing this kind of peer-to-peer teaching, not only do you get to know the other people on your degree course, but you also get a lot more out of the readings that we set you in the week. So the way that this module will be assessed is that you'll produce a series of short writing exercises, about 500 words, during the semester. You'll do 3 of those, which are given a kind of indicative mark, which doesn't count towards your final degree. And then you will write up one of those for your final summative assessment, which does count towards the mark you get for the module. So you will write something, get feedback on it, and then rewrite it for your final assessment, designed to be productive and kind of collaborative in teaching you the basics of writing critically and clearly. The other semester 1 module you will take, this is again a compulsory module, is the novel around the world. So what Writing Matters does is it equips you with the skills in essay writing. What the novel around the world does is it begins to get you to think about how to read critically. And so what we do in the novel around the world is we trace out the history of the novel in English. And in this module, we draw on a wide variety of different novels from different places, different times, mostly from the Victorian period through to the present, different traditions, different perspectives, and we get you to think about what the novel is, where it comes from, and how it operates. So we start with Jane Eyre, we go through Wild Sargasso Sea, Passage to India, Animals, People, and one of my personal favourites, Giovanni's Room. So you'll study in that module a wide variety of different prose texts. In semester 2, you will begin to think about poetry. So you've done prose, now we move you on to start thinking about how you might read carefully and critically poetry. So this module focuses on poetry along with poetic technique and language. So here we equip you with the tools and skills and terminology you need to think and write critically about poetry. And again, here we draw on a wide range of poetic traditions, from kind of quite traditional romantic poetry through to more experimental poetry, and up to more recent stuff from different places and different voices from around the world. Here we get you to think about form, meter, tone, irony, and all of the other techniques of poetry. Your final compulsory module for semester 2 in your first year will be the Renaissance drama module. And here we get you to think about drama, and especially the drama of the Elizabethan and Jacobean period, so Shakespeare and his contemporaries, essentially. What we get you to do here is combine a formal analytic skills and get you to think about literary form alongside doing some in-depth cultural analysis. So your analysis in this module will be thinking about drama as a text, but also drama as a performance. So your first assignment here is about a review of a production of a particular play. So we get you to watch Shakespeare more than we do get you to read Shakespeare and his contemporaries here. So it's very much a module that's invested in how do we think about performance, interpretation, and what does it mean to see Shakespeare on stage. So you'll also in your first year have a choice of 2 from 4 optional modules. And those fall into 2 categories. One is creative writing, which are creative writing parts 1 and 2. And the second is American literature, classic US texts, and modern US writing. So in creative writing, you will be introduced to sort of how to write creatively, and you will do a series of 1-hour lectures and 1-hour seminars and workshops where you will write creatively. You will start to work on your own creative writing from the very start of the module. You'll be given particular genres, particular forms to work in, and you will write in those forms, and you'll be given feedback by both your lecturer and your peers to start thinking about how to write in your own voice and how to write creatively. And as I say, this is all done in a critical but friendly workshop environment, honest. Meanwhile, on the American Studies module, you will study, probably with me, amongst other people, literature that is based in the United States. So in American Literature 1, we consider literature from about 1800 to 1900. And in American Literature 2, we consider American literature from 1900 to the present, covering a range of different forms from slave narratives to experimental novels as we go. And here is like an example of what your week of study in the second semester of year 1 might look like if you took that modern American writing module. So if you're reading poetry compulsory module, you might have an hour's seminar on poetry, on form in poetry, an hour's lecture on the same topic, and an hour's autonomous learning session where you would discuss with your peers those topics, the lecture and the reading. If you're on Aeson's drama module, you might have an hour's seminar on Volpone, an hour's lecture on Johnson and animal imagery, so a kind of subset of that discussion of Volpone, and then another lecture on another aspect of Johnson's work, where you think about character and how that works in Renaissance drama. Then in modern American writing, you might have a seminar on Edith Wharton's Age of Innocence, alongside a lecture on more widely the American literature in the 1920s. Then finally, you might have a 1-hour workshop on research exercises. So you might have a thing here on like how to use secondary sources, how to use the library. These kind of training sessions are available in your study skills slot. So that's probably about 9 to 12 hours of direct contact time with your tutors. The rest of the time you'll be doing directed independent study. So you'll be set reading and writing tasks. You'll be given questions to prepare for your seminars and lectures. So in the week, you'll be given a series of questions and you'll be set a lot of reading, and you'll work through that in your own time and at your own pace as independent directed study. As your degree goes on, you get more optionality and fewer compulsory modules. So in year 2, you have 2 only compulsory modules, both of which are on critical perspective. So these are about equipping you with the skills in critical theory that you'll need to continue to develop as a literary critic. So here you'll encounter things like postmodernism, Marxist theory, feminist theory, all of these kind of big critical and literary theories that will help you understand the literature you're studying. You'll also take a vocational module, which is starting to get you to think about what you might do with an English degree. So whether that be teaching as a second language, teaching in schools, diverse the publishing industry, going into journalism, going into teaching in schools. Alongside that, you will take, therefore, 3 or 4 optional modules, whether that be with me, diversity in contemporary American literature, where we look at everything from African American, Native American, Asian American literature from the 19th century to the present. You can take thematic modules on the Gothic. You can take modern literature from the Heart of Darkness to 1984, where we look at a particular period in English literature, thinking about race in British literature. and many, many others. These lists do tend to change year on year. So in year 3, you come to do probably the most famous part of the English degree, which is your dissertation. This is a long piece of independent writing where you work with a particular member of staff on a research topic and an essay that's about 7,000 words long, which sounds like a lot, but really isn't, where you work with a member of staff on a title and topic that you yourself have come up with in collaboration with a particular member of staff. So by this point, hopefully, you've figured out really what you're really interested in within the study of English literature, and this is your chance to kind of follow that interest in a very specific and very detailed way. You'll be given support on this module both by me as part of my role as dissertation convener of the dissertation module, and I will provide you with some fortnightly organisational lectures alongside some recorded talks and things like that, and more importantly your supervisor, who will help you through the researching and writing process. And as you can see from this list that sort of spans everything from Warhammer 40,000 to Old Norse, you really can do almost anything for the dissertation module as long as it fits within the remit of English literature. Now, you'll also study a wide variety of optional modules in year 3. So your dissertation is only one of your modules, so you therefore have 5 modules to choose from. And these vary enormously year on year, because at this point, we really do begin to leverage the idea that you are being taught by genuine specialists in their field. And so what modules you'll be offered in your 3rd year depend on who is around, what they've recently written books on, what they're currently thinking of. So this is a kind of indicative list of the kind of really quite specialist modules you might study in your final year. So whether you might do something on Renaissance literature, looking at Utopia and Paradise Lost, Victorians, looking at things like Oliver Twist, probably with Dr. Claire Wood, who I mentioned earlier, whether you look at writing voices, classical worlds, whether you look at queering the Renaissance, literatures of protest, American autobiography, the list goes on and on and on. You will not get all of these to choose from, and you will not get, you know, this many to choose from, but they change year on year to reflect the research interests and genuine specialisms of the staff. So teaching, as I've sort of previously outlined, really involves a mixture of lectures where, you know, you sit in a big room and you listen for probably about an hour to someone talking, through seminars, more like classroom teaching, where you interact and ask questions of each other and your seminar tutor, tutorials, which are smaller 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 sessions with your supervisor or with your module convener, where you talk about your essays, talk about your written work, talk about specialist things within the English degree, film screenings, workshops. We also offer meetings with personal tutors. So at the beginning of your degree, you'll be allocated a personal tutor who is your go-to troubleshooter, essentially. So any issues that you might have with your degree, help, I'm really struggling, help, my flatmates burned my house down and I don't know what to do, help, I'm working at a time I need to have a seminar, what can I do? Go to your personal tutor and they will be able to help you. You receive excellent and regular pastoral help from your personal tutors. I will also provide online catch-up sessions and one-on-one meetings in our office hours for you to come and talk to us about any problems, issues, or questions that you might have. So you'll have really a minimum of 9 to 12 to 10 hours a week per semester, plus all of that independent study that I've been talking about previously. So good news, all modules are assessed by coursework. We don't have exams at all. Everything is done by coursework of various kinds. So that's not necessarily essays, I should point out. It can also take the form of reviews, group presentations, video presentations, passage analyses, annotated bibliographies, formative exercises, online tests, all sorts of things. There are no examinations, but most modules will have multiple points of assessment aimed to test different skills that we're hoping you've developed. So you might have a conventional essay as one piece of coursework, but then you might accompany that with, say, a review in the case of that Renaissance module, or a piece of persuasive writing in the case of writing matters. So you'll be tested in various ways, but never under examination conditions, always in the form of coursework. So as I say, you have a personal tutor who's allocated to you personally and who can help you through any questions, problems that might arise on academic and personal issues. We are a supportive and friendly group, honest, and you'll find that most of your tutors, seminar tutors and module conveners are more than happy to help you out if you go and see them or contact them via emails. We have staff student committees where we talk to you, where you send representatives to talk to us in a kind of staff meeting setting where we make changes based on your feedback. So one reason why we don't have exams anymore is because in our staff student committee, students didn't like them, so we got rid of them, and we kind of justified that as a kind of result of student feedback. And we have an award-winning student support service available to help you out. We also make sure that our graduates are well supported by our alumni network. And I should point out here that our graduates from our English degree go all over the place. They work for the Arcadia Group, for Heritage, for the BBC, for advertising firms, for the London Symphony Orchestra, museums, libraries, teaching. Many of them go into law or finance. The things you can do and the places you can go with an English degree are almost endless. And we also, of course, offer MAs in English Studies, Creative Writing, Victorian Studies, and Modern and Contemporary Literature, if you decide you want to stick around for another year. So the application process is fairly simple. We go through UCAS. We have 4 different degrees you can apply to. So the main differences between these degrees is that on the BA English, you can choose in your first year either Creative Writing or American Studies. If you do English and American Studies or English and Creative Writing, you will have those modules chosen for you. You'll get the same choices as everybody else in your second and third years, as long as the weighting of your modules is sufficiently Creative Writing or American Studies. Typically, we ask for grades of ABB at A level or BBB with an extended personal qualification at grade B in English, though that is subject to change depending on the year. So you can find more information on our website. And I think at this point, I will invite questions, if there are any, from the audience. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was helpful. If you do have any questions, please feel free to ask away.
Hi, Dan, it's Ian, producer.
Hello again.
There's been a couple of questions. The first one,
Okay.
Is there a university newspaper?
There is a university newspaper, and there is also an English newspaper. And I know a lot of English students, so 2 of my personal tutees this year have been involved with the editorial staff of that newspaper. So there is one, and we encourage you to get involved. And a lot of English students play very active roles, both in terms of content creation and also editorial roles within that newspaper. So you'll have contacts within the English department that can get you involved if that's something you're interested in. So yes, definitely.
Brilliant. Another one is, how long are the lectures and seminars?
So a typical seminar, well, a typical lecture would be, well, a university hour, so probably 50 minutes, although we are increasingly phasing out live lectures in favour of recorded lectures. I certainly am on my modules, and a lot of my other colleagues are following suit. So they are recordings that you can listen to in your own time. Seminars, we're moving increasingly toward 90 minutes to 2-hour seminars, although obviously there would be a break halfway through that. So seminars would either be 90 minutes or 2 hours. Workshops for creative writing would be about the same, so about either 1.5 hours to 2 hours, just so we've got good time to kind of get involved in stuff, let you have practice at writing, and kind of have time to organise things like debates, presentations, and the kind of more exciting things that we want to do in those sessions.
Brilliant. I've got another one here. Is there anything you could advise on that would be worth getting involved with kind of prior to applying to university?
So prior to applying to university, that's a good question. So in terms of your English, applying for English, I think we would look favourably upon things like you getting involved with journalism, any kind of writing, any kind of creative writing, genuine interest in literature, so book reviews, book blogs, those sorts of things would be great if you were involved with those things. Any kind of creative writing, obviously, would be a help. those sorts of things, I think, kind of starting to develop where you think about where your interest might lie, or finding your voice as a creative writer. Any of those things we would encourage you to do to kind of prepare you for English study.
And just to go back on the newspaper question, it's just been a follow-up.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the university newspaper and the English newspaper?
Right. Well, the university newspaper is a bigger publication, and it involves stories from kind of all over the university. So it involves everything from like sports reporting to reports on what the university is up to, wider news. The English newspaper is a bit more specific, so it tends to focus around things like literary Leicester, visiting speakers. I think they have like book reviews and stuff, and they're certainly used to. So things like that, kind of, it's a more specific, more like a kind of literary newspaper, whereas the university newspaper would be more, there'd be a wider range of journalism to get involved with there if you wanted to.
Brilliant, thank you. And we've not got much time left for questions, but I've got another one, and you touched on it in the presentation, but what sort of careers can you go into following the English degree?
So our graduates they go to many different places and many different destinations. So an obvious destination is obviously teaching. You could also go, a lot of our students go into the creative industries, into advertising, copywriting, those sorts of things. Many of our students go on to do careers in finance or law, following a conversion course. They go into things like heritage, so things like tourism, archival study, museum studies, library studies, all of these things. And also things like advertising and journalism are big destinations as well. So we have a number of our graduates who've gone to work for various national newspapers, for example.
Okay, and one last question here. Is it unwise to make your personal statement more creatively written versus more academically written?
No, is the short answer there, particularly if you're applying for a creative writing degree. I think if you're applying for something creative, be as creative as you want. I think we want to see an ability to write clearly and coherently. So make sure that that's in there and make sure that you can demonstrate those skills in kind of researching and writing critically and clearly. But if you want to be a bit creative, then particularly if you're applying for a creative writing degree, absolutely do that.
Brilliant. That's all the questions that we've had come through.
That's it. Excellent. Okay.
So I think unless anybody has any other questions, I put something in the chat for everyone to see about further sessions and have a look at the open day programs for anything else, including combination talks and things like that. But nice one. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Thank you very much.